Welcome back to World Coins Explorer. In today's video, we're taking a closer look at a coin that may appear ordinary at first glance, but its history, rarity, and potential market value could surprise even experienced collectors. So before you consider it just another common coin, take a closer look, because in the world of coin collecting, even a small detail can make a huge difference in a coin's value.
What if a tiny 2-pence coin sitting unnoticed in an old drawer could actually have an interesting story behind it? Today, we are taking a close look at the 2002 United Kingdom 2-pence coin, a small denomination that millions of people have handled without ever thinking about its history. Welcome back to Coins Explorer, where we explore old coins, unusual varieties, historical designs, minting facts, and the details that collectors often look for. At first glance, this 2002 2-pence may look like nothing more than an ordinary copper-colored coin. But when you examine its date, portrait, reverse design, metal composition, condition, and possible special versions, the story becomes much more interesting. The 2p denomination has been part of Britain's decimal currency system since February 15, 1971, making it one of the long-running denominations of modern British coinage. The Royal Mint confirms that the 2p measures approximately 25.9 millimeters in diameter and weighs 7.12 grams. The 2002 issue belongs to the era of Queen Elizabeth II's fourth definitive portrait, designed by Ian Rank Broadley. And there is an especially important detail collectors should understand. The normal circulating 2002 2p should not automatically be considered a rare or extremely valuable coin. So stay with me, because in this video we are going through the coin from beginning to end, including its history, design, metal, mintage, magnetic property, condition, varieties, possible errors, collector interest, and realistic value. The story of the British 2-pence coin begins with Britain's major transition from the old pounds, shillings, and pence system to decimal currency. The Royal Mint introduced the 2p coin on February 15, 1971, alongside the halfpenny and 1 penny, as part of Decimal Day. The early decimal 2p coins were visually different from many modern examples because the word new appeared on the reverse during the early years. That word was eventually removed in 1982 as the decimal currency system became established. For collectors, this long history makes the 2p denomination particularly interesting because there are many dates, portraits, compositions, and design changes to compare. The 2002 coin arrived more than 3 decades after decimalization, at a time when the familiar Queen Elizabeth II portrait and the traditional Welsh feathers reverse were still being used. That means 2-pence represents 2 pence in face value. Although the face value is small, collectors do not judge coins solely by their denomination. They also consider rarity, mintage, condition, metal composition, minting errors, special finishes, historical significance, and demand among collectors. This is exactly why examining an apparently ordinary 2p coin carefully can sometimes reveal details that are easy to miss. Now let's turn the coin over and examine the obverse, which is the side carrying the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. The standard 2002 circulating 2p uses the fourth definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This portrait was designed by British sculptor and engraver Ian Rank Broadley FRBS, whose portrait was used on UK circulating coins from 1998 through 2015. On the coin, the Queen is shown facing to the right, following the established tradition of alternating the direction of monarch portraits on British coinage. Around the portrait is the Latin inscription associated with the Queen's British coinage. The lettering identifies Elizabeth II and includes the traditional royal titles used on circulating British coins. The portrait is an important diagnostic feature because it helps distinguish the 2002 coin from earlier 2p issues that carried different portraits. When examining an example, collectors should look closely at the lettering, the portrait details, the rim, and the overall quality of the strike. A genuine circulated coin will normally show wear on the highest parts of the portrait and lettering depending on how long it was used. However, a very sharp example with strong details and attractive surfaces can be more appealing to collectors than a heavily worn example. So even before looking at the reverse, the obverse gives us several clues about exactly which version of the British 2p we are examining. The reverse of the traditional British 2p is one of the most recognizable designs in modern British decimal coinage. The design features the badge of the Prince of Wales, consisting of 3 ostrich feathers emerging through a coronet. The feathers are surrounded by the traditional Welsh-related design elements and inscriptions. The reverse was designed by Christopher Ironside, one of the important designers associated with Britain's decimal coinage. The denomination 2 pence appears prominently on the reverse, while the famous Welsh motto, ich DIEN, is also part of the design. The phrase, ich DIEN, is German and is traditionally translated as I serve. This design continued for many years and remained on the 2p until the major royal shield redesign introduced later in the decade. That means the 2002 example belongs to an important period when this classic Welsh feathers design was still standard on Britain's circulating 2p coins. Collectors often enjoy this reverse because it connects a small, everyday coin to British heraldic tradition and the Prince of Wales. When inspecting your own coin, pay attention to the feathers, coronet, lettering, and the inner details of the design. Heavy circulation can flatten these areas, while a high-quality example may preserve much sharper details and cleaner lettering. One of the most interesting facts about the 2002 British 2p is its metal composition. Many people see the copper-colored surface and automatically assume that the entire coin is made from solid copper or traditional bronze. That assumption is incorrect for the standard 2002 circulating issue. The Royal Mint states that from September 1992, British 1p and 2p coins were generally changed from bronze to copper-plated steel because of rising global prices for base and non-ferrous metals. The copper plating gives the coin its familiar reddish-brown appearance, while the steel core makes the coin magnetic. This gives collectors a very simple way to investigate their coin. Place a suitable magnet near it and see whether it is attracted. A normal 2002 copper-plated steel 2p should respond to a magnet because of its steel core. The Royal Mint explains that the copper-plated coins retain the same color, diameter, weight, and design characteristics while differing internally because of the steel core. This is an excellent example of why the appearance of a coin does not always tell you what metal is actually inside it. So if your 2002 2p looks copper-colored but sticks to a magnet, that is not automatically an error. In fact, magnetic behavior is expected for the normal copper-plated steel issue. Let's now look at the technical specifications of the 2002 2 pence coin. According to the Royal Mint, the standard British 2p has a diameter of approximately 25.9 millimeters. Its standard weight is approximately 7.12 grams. The Royal Mint lists the thickness as about 2.03 millimeters for the copper-plated steel version. The edge of the standard 2p is plain rather than reeded or decorated. These measurements are useful because they can help collectors identify suspicious pieces or investigate possible errors. If a coin has an unusually large difference in weight, diameter, or thickness, it may deserve closer examination. However, a small difference caused by normal wear, dirt, corrosion, or measuring equipment does not automatically prove that a coin is a mint error. Collectors should also remember that damage occurring after the coin leaves the mint can sometimes create strange shapes or surface features. For example, corrosion can affect the copper plating and expose or disturb the steel underneath. Therefore, technical measurements should always be considered together with the coin's design, condition, and other characteristics. For serious collectors, a precise digital scale, a good quality caliper, and a strong magnifying glass can be useful tools when examining unusual coins. Now we reach one of the most important questions for collectors. How many 2002 2 pence coins were actually produced? The commonly cataloged mintage for the standard 2002 circulating 2p is approximately 168,556,000 coins. That is a very large production figure. and it immediately tells us something important about rarity. A coin with a mintage in the hundreds of millions should not normally be described as an extremely rare circulating coin simply because it carries the 2002 date. The Royal Mint's annual reporting also shows the scale of 2p production and circulation during this period, illustrating how heavily the lower denominations were used in everyday British commerce. Large production numbers do not mean that every individual example is worthless, because condition and special characteristics can still make a coin more desirable. But the date alone does not transform a normal 2002 2p into a high-value rarity. This distinction is extremely important for anyone watching online coin videos, because sensational claims about ordinary coins can sometimes be misleading. The correct approach is to identify the exact coin first and then evaluate its condition, variety, and authenticity. So if you have a normal circulated 2002 2p, think of it primarily as a collectible piece of modern British history rather than an automatic jackpot coin. The condition of a coin can make a major difference to its collector appeal. A heavily circulated 2002 2p may show scratches, discoloration, dents, rim damage, surface marks, and significant wear on the portrait and reverse design. An uncirculated example can look dramatically different because the original details and surfaces may be much better preserved. Collectors commonly use grades such as good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, and uncirculated to describe condition, although professional grading systems can be more detailed. The Royal Mint's collector resources also use standard condition terminology such as poor, fair, good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, and uncirculated. For the normal 2002 circulating 2p, catalog values are generally modest rather than spectacular. One published coin reference lists ordinary examples at low values, with higher figures associated with better condition examples and special finishes. This means you should not clean the coin aggressively just because you hope to increase its value. Cleaning can leave scratches or unnatural surfaces and may actually make a collectible coin less desirable. Instead, keep the coin dry, avoid harsh chemicals, and handle it carefully by the edges when possible. The real value of a normal 2002 2p is therefore usually determined by condition, collector demand, and whether the coin has an authentic variety or minting error. Now comes the part that many collectors find most exciting: errors and unusual varieties. A normal 2002 2p is not automatically rare, but an authenticated mint error can be a completely different story. When examining your coin, look carefully at the date, lettering, portrait, rim, reverse design, and overall alignment. Look for unusual doubling, missing design elements, abnormal strikes, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or other characteristics that cannot be explained by ordinary damage. However, this is where collectors need to be extremely careful. A damaged coin can easily look like an error, especially when copper plating has worn away or the steel core has reacted with moisture and corrosion. There are documented discussions involving 2002 2p pieces where unusual blobs or raised areas were investigated and ultimately attributed to corrosion rather than genuine mint errors. That is why simply finding a strange mark is not enough to claim that your coin is rare. A genuine mint error should be supported by evidence showing that the unusual feature occurred during the manufacturing process. If you think your 2002 2p has a major error, compare it with authenticated examples and consider getting an expert opinion before assigning a high value. This careful approach can protect collectors from both false expectations and misleading online valuations. There is another fascinating chapter to the story of the 2002 2p, and this is where things can become confusing. The year 2002 was the year of Queen Elizabeth II Golden Jubilee, marking 50 years since her accession to the throne. A special gold version of the 2p was produced in 2002, and this is very different from the ordinary copper-plated steel coin found in everyday circulation. Namista records a 2002 gold-proof 2p with an issue limit of only 2,002 pieces, making it a completely different collectible from the ordinary circulating issue. There were also special, brilliant, uncirculated, and proof examples associated with the 2002 issue. For example, the same catalog records separate 2002 quantities of approximately 60,539 for BU and 60,770 for proof examples. This is one reason why you should always identify exactly what type of 2002 2P you have before searching for its value. A normal circulating copper-plated steel coin and a special proof or gold issue are not interchangeable. The rare gold version should never be used to claim that every ordinary 2002 2P is worth thousands or millions. If someone presents a huge valuation online, always ask what exact variety, finish, metal, condition, and provenance they are referring to. That simple question can make the difference between reliable coin collecting and internet hype. If you have a 2002 2P at home, you can perform a simple inspection without damaging the coin. First, check that the date clearly reads 2002 and confirm that you are looking at a British 2 pence coin. Next, examine Queen Elizabeth II portrait and compare it with the known DIEN rank broadly design used from 1998 to 2015. Then turn the coin over and inspect the Prince of Wales feathers, coronet, 2 pence, and ICH DIEN details. After that, try a magnet carefully to determine whether the coin behaves like the expected copper-plated steel issue. You can also weigh the coin using a reasonably accurate digital scale and compare the result with the Royal Mint's standard specification of 7.12 grams. Look around the rim for dents, flattening, or unusual damage that may have occurred after circulation. Use magnification to inspect the lettering and date for genuine doubling or unusual strike characteristics. Do not polish, scrape, sand, or chemically clean the coin while investigating it. If something looks genuinely unusual, photograph both sides clearly and record the weight and measurements before seeking expert advice. Remember that careful identification is far more important than simply finding a dramatic-looking mark on the surface. So, what is the final verdict on the 2002 United Kingdom 2 pence coin? The standard 2002 2p is an interesting piece of modern British coinage, but the ordinary circulating example should not automatically be treated as a rare fortune. The coin features Queen Elizabeth II's fourth definitive portrait by DIEN rank broadly on the obverse and Christopher Ironside's Prince of Wales feather design on the reverse. Its copper-colored appearance comes from copper plating over a steel core, which means the normal coin should be magnetic. The coin has a diameter of about 25.9 millimeters, a weight of about 7.12 grams, and a plain edge. The really interesting possibilities come from condition, unusual varieties, genuine mint errors, and special 2002 issues such as proof and gold examples. The 2002 gold proof version is particularly notable because its recorded issue limit was only 2,002 pieces. So before spending or selling your coin, examine it carefully and identify exactly which version you have. And most importantly, never judge a coin's value from a viral headline alone. Reliable references, condition, authenticity, and actual collector demand matter much more. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 2002 2 pence, stay connected with Coins Explorer because there are always more ordinary-looking coins waiting to reveal their history, secrets, and collector possibilities.